All right, so thank you again for your time for coming to meet with us as the Northwest Black Alumni Board Archives Committee. This is our actual second official interview, and that is perfectly fine. We have Samantha Smith here and her dog in the background. Just a brief introduction. My name is Anthony Ealy. I graduated in 2017 from Northwest Missouri State. Just recently graduated law school, passed the bar. And while I was at Northwest, I appreciate it. It's hard work. But while I was there, I was on Student Senate. I helped out with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is what it was called back then. With that department, bringing that in, and then the next year with my brother Rodney, we helped with the inclusion committee and did kind of that stuff. So I'm gonna let Rodney introduce himself, and then I'm gonna jump to you, Samantha.
Yeah, hey, I'm Rodney McDuffie. I graduated in 2017 at Northwest, and while I was there, I did political science with Anthony, and we also did a student senate together for the diversity, equity, inclusion. I was the chair of the diversity, equity, inclusion committee, and so I'm very happy to sit down and talk to you about your time at Northwest, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing conversation.
Well, thank you both so much for inviting me to interview with you. There's not a ton of Black alumni from Northwest, at least during my time. There was a very small pocket of us, and so I appreciate you taking the time to conduct these interviews.
Okay, so the format of this is really going to be, we're going to start by letting you introduce your name, year you graduated, and what you're doing now. And then I have a few formatted questions listed out, but in between, depending on how the conversation goes, Rodney and I will, be asking some jump off questions. So,
okay.
Ready? Right.
Sure. So my name is Samantha Smith. I am a Northwest graduate of 2012. I majored in advertising, which is no longer a major anymore, but that's okay. Wow. From Northwest, I went on to Lindenwood University. I grew up in the St. Louis metro area, so came back home to St. Louis, got accepted into grad school at Lindenwood University and completed my MBA in 2013. Now, since my educational career, I've moved to Texas. So I live in Austin, Texas. And now I stayed in I loved my college experience. I stayed in higher education. Originally, I got down here, was working for Texas State University. It's a very large public state school here. They have about 40,000 students. But now I've worked for a small liberal arts school in Austin, Texas called St. Edward's University. And I work in, I work in the fundraising and development office, but I handle most of their communications, design, videography, and photography.
Okay, sounds like you got a lot on your plate, some good educational background. So
keeps my hands full for sure.
Do you miss the Missouri snow?
I do not.
Got there on that skate to Texas. Okay, I don't blame you. Okay, so just to jump off. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to go to Northwest.
For me, really, this was more about the location than it was my educational opportunities that Northwest provided me.
Okay.
18-year-old Sam was done, and tuition and things like that were going to be the most cost efficient for me. But I needed to go to a university that was going to be far away from my family. And so St. Louis is about 5 hours away from Maryville. And so for me, it was selfishly about the distance. I wanted to get away. But when I first got to Northwest, it was really about the culture that was there. It was a small town, so I really wasn't sure how I was going to fit in or how I was going to relate to people there. But the small pocket of Black alumni that were there, it felt great. It felt amazing. I constantly had a support system of my peers around me. We were all striving to be better. We all were striving for a better future for ourselves. And that constant eagerness, that constant drive and motivation really, really provided a really nurturing environment for me that I needed, being so far away from home.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to needing that environment, especially sometimes you go out to Northwest and you can find yourself in different kind of cultures we had Dr. Simmons there, and so she was a real big help, at least for me, and some of my teachers. So, but my next question, it is, so while you were there, what organizations were you a part of? Can you kind of explain those and how they affected Northwestern yourself?
Sure. So being an advertising major, a part of that degree path under mass comms, the School of Mass Comms, you had to be involved in either the new in some capacity, and so for also involved with I'm not sure if it's an organization there anymore, so I'll have to refresh my memory. It's called the ABC, the Alliance of Black Colleagues. And then I was I'm not personally a Greek myself, but I was involved in the Greek life that was at Northwest, and so I participated in the Miss Black and Gold pageant, which was thrown on by Alpha Phi Alphas way back in the day. But those were the three kind of big areas that I was involved in. The year after my pageant, I returned to the pageant committee as kind of a mentor for the next group of girls. But those were kind of the big areas that I was involved in.
Okay. Before we jump forward, one, I just want to warn you, because my computer, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of rocky. Hope I'm recording everything. Rodney, can you help me out if you can record too, just in case I miss some stuff?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, cool. And I kind of want to just dig into some of your memories with the pageant and how that went for you, and you know what it looked like as far as how that affected the school turnout with the Black community, and then also the pageant community. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. Oh gosh, this was such a long time ago. So my pageant year was the fall of 2010. I had a friend of mine who participated in the fall 2009, and she won and got to go on to the district pageant, I believe, or district or regional pageant that took place in Kansas City. And they had asked me that fall if I wanted to participate, and I was like, not really interested. Pageanting is not really in my personality. But then I had seen my friend do it. I was like, I could do that. And so I participated that fall, and there actually was a huge crop of girls who did it. Traditionally, they had maybe 4 or 5 girls that participated, but the year that I participated, there was actually 11 girls competing. So it was a really cool experience because it was such a process where they had to teach you how to walk, you had to memorize your opening script, you had to prepare your talent. And so it was probably, I want to say, a good like 10-week process of us, you know, meeting consistently to practice. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 times a week where we had pageant practice. And that's already on top of, you know, a busy schedule. I don't know about y'all, but I worked the entire time through college. I was the morning shift supervisor of that little subway inside of Walmart, and I hated every minute of it, but it taught me a lot about just responsibilities and bills and things. And so that was already on top of, you know, working full-time, going to school full-time, any extracurricular activities, and then just, you know, like any college kid wants to do, maintain a social life. But the pageant kind of sort of turned into my social life for me. I met some really great girls that I got really close with and still maintain friendships with to this day.
So it builds character, you know.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Do you like remember what year, like what grade you were in when you did it, and also like what you had to do during the actual pageant, like singing, poetry?
Yes. So it was fall of 2010, so I was a junior.
Okay.
My talent was actually cooking. I really, really love to cook. And so I kind of did a makeshift cooking show, but I had brought some personality and some charisma into it. So I had, you know, the crowd laughing about it and stuff. I was first runner up. There was one girl who beat me out who gave a beautiful original spoken word piece. And it was fantastic. Jasmine, gosh, what was her last name? Jasmine something, but it was fantastic. It was a really, really great time. I had a lot of fun doing it. There was 4 other girls who I got really close with, and we all called each other the Fab Five. Because we all runner up or whatever, however the order went. as a first runner-up, I got to go to the districts to watch my fellow Bearcat compete against the other universities that had held a Miss Black and Gold pageant. And so that was really cool. That was a really interesting weekend, and we just had, we had fun.
That kind of like brings me, because I was wondering about districts. I've always heard you would go to the district level and never actually known anybody who's able to like describe what that process is like. I give you 10 points for creativity. I think that, doing a cooking show, I ain't never seen that. You would have won with me, but but can you describe the districts though? Just how it is.
Well,
if you can remember, like, I know it was a long time ago. So.
That was like 10 years ago for me. So it was in Kansas City. It was held in a hotel, and there were girls from almost every major Missouri university. I mean, I believe the girl that won districts was from Mizzou. And they weigh, it's a serious level of competition. They weigh your grade point average is a huge part of it, your talent, your introduction changes slightly from what you learn just at your school level. It was relatively smaller because it's districts, but then of course the winner of that moves on to my understanding, the national competition, because districts is really, it's technically districts, but it's a statewide competition. I'm so sorry. I wish I could remember more for you. But it took place maybe about a month or so after the competition at school.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna let Rodney take the next question if he has any.
Yeah. So my question is, were you, kind of going back in your background, were you a first generation?
I was not.
What organizations you wanted to be a part of, or what was that like if you were a first generation?
So I was not a first generation. I caught the first part of your question. I was not a first generation student. My mom actually recently retired, but she retired from public school education after 33 years. And so education was a non-negotiable in my household, and even my master's degree was a non-negotiable. My mom and my parents both emphasized education from an early stage. So I was not a first generation. And then I didn't quite catch the second part of your question.
Oh, no, it was just kind of a follow-up. If you were just saying, like, did that impact like any of the organizations or decisions that you made, if you were, but even if that you weren't, how did you kind of like get involved in those organizations? Was there something that said, hey, I need to be a part of like ABC, or did you have like any motivations behind that, or what were they?
Well, I think the biggest motivation for getting involved with ABC was just the fact that we attended a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and just knowing that we need to have, listen, I live in higher education world, that's my life. So knowing that, I need to have my people around me was a big driving factor. And then I think just the social aspect of it, you meet people, you get to know your colleagues, and what's great about the college experience is you're meeting people of your own same age, but you're all adults and you're not living in a home anymore. So it's a different experience that you don't necessarily have your parents or your teachers or someone telling you what to do, and you're all on the same level. And so you're all learning and growing and trying to figure out adulthood all at the same time. And for me, it was a value to lean on those people, especially other people of color who were going through those same experiences, especially at a university like Northwest, in a town like Maryville. It was super, super crucial that I leaned on my other friends and other colleagues of color for support to help me navigate how to get through college.
Well, I'm gonna stay on the topic of the social scene, because I know when me and Rodney was there, we were there during the end of Obama's years and also the beginning of Trump's years. So we saw the social scenes. I mean, especially during that first election, it was just wow. We had to have big campus climate town hall meetings. Posters were being put up on people's door. People were being harassed. It was crazy. And so you being there in 2012, and I'm assuming you was there 2012, 2011, 2010, 2009. No.
Yes.
So Obama's first term.
Yes. So my era was the Obama era. I got there in the fall. I graduated high school in 2008, got there in the fall in 2008 when Obama was elected. And I will never forget that night. Campus erupted. I mean, it was so exciting, and it was a new era, and it was something that nobody in the history of had ever seen. Not only, just in America, but other major world, leaders with countries that, that have significant history or, ties that our country has. There are not a ton of leaders in positions like that who are people of color.
Yeah.
It was it felt like a win across all boards. And it was an exciting era. So unfortunately, I did not experience that transition that y'all did in college. It was purely the Obama era for me.
But
and that was
still good.
Exciting.
Like digging deeper in that, because you said it was real exciting. Like, I don't know if you remember, but do you know some of the the activities that was going on? Was there voting drives going on, parades going on, watching the debate, students gathering around? What was going on outside?
Several of my friends were actively getting other students on campus to register to vote as a part of the volunteerism for the Obama campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when he won, it was a party. It really was. It was a really great win, not only, for our country, for our culture, but it was a win for all of the people who had done on campus, who had done so much work, registering voters, building the awareness, and this is fall 2008, Twitter, Instagram, they're not a thing, and so really having to do it in a grassroots type effort and walk up to people and ask them if they're registered voters is a lot of work, and it can be intimidating too.
Yeah.
So kind of stemming off of the social issues, and even you talked about social media not being a thing, was diversity, equity, inclusion ever kind of talked about on campus a lot? I know during our generation we started to experience the Black Lives Matter. Michael Brown was killed around our time that we went in school. Was there any type of initiative at Northwest going on around that time, just talking about race or anything like that?
I think the subject of race obviously was always predominant with ABC. The awareness that has been brought about, I would say, in this Trump administration time period that we're living in, it wasn't as predominant. I think there is such emphasis on awareness now that there really wasn't necessarily when I was in college. I mean, there was always topics of race and always talks of racism and microaggressions and things like that we experienced on campus, never to the degree that it is now. And I think social media has brought a huge, oh my gosh, this girl. Social media has brought a huge viewership and level of awareness that just wasn't available when I was in school. I think it's also can be negative at times. I can't even focus with this little girl. I'm so sorry. Hold on real quick.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Someone's
going behind the scenes.
I can't even focus with this little girl out there just going crazy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. To my point, though, I definitely don't think that there was a level of awareness like there was, or the accessibility of information like there is now. It's a different culture. A lot can happen in a decade, from 2020 up until, when I was in school in 09, 10, 11, 12, just so much has changed culturally.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you two questions in one. When we talk about the culture at Northwest, because I from just being on the Black Alumni Board with people who've been there 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and, having gotten an opportunity to not yet, but we're scheduling an interview with Joe Bell, the first Black graduate in Northwest. I mean, you can look at the yearbooks. The climate was different. I've only not being able to get your freshman and sophomore photo taken, just a junior, senior is just different. And he was a football player. So, but back then, speaking of ABC, I know they had Harambe House. I don't know what the black group was called before. Then there was LBC, and I believe now it's the BSU, the Black Student Union, Legion of Black Legions, because it kind of morphed and changes over the years. But during these times, I know each group seems like they have fought for either, bringing in civil rights department to investigate some kind of, systematic oppression, as meaning the school has ignored certain kind of claims. I've seen that happen. This has been a trend. And also the fight for either bringing in a director of diversity who specializes in inclusion stuff, or bringing in a department. It happened in the 80s, the 90s, happened when me and Rodney was there, and then now it's happening again. So when you were there, did you have a department for diversity and inclusion? Did you have any kind of director over that kind of stuff? Or did you see a need for it, or what's going on?
I definitely think there was a need for it. I want to say it was all wrapped together as the multicultural center, but I could be wrong about that.
That's what's funny, because I think that they said that the Harambe House used to be for the black students, but then the multicultural center kind of over the years, they changed the name.
Yes.
Broadening the gap.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say there was necessarily one specific office just for black students, at least not to my memory. Okay. Again, it's like almost 10 years since I've been out of college, but I do remember like a multicultural office that kind of comprised of all students who weren't white, essentially.
Yeah, that's how it is now.
Now, during your time, was there any like staff or professors that were minorities during your time, either that you've known them or that you had a class with them? Is there anybody that you can point out or that you knew during your time?
Minority, yes. Black, no. I did not. I don't. No. I had a statistics class with an Asian gentleman, and I can't remember his name, so I apologize. But I don't ever recall having a black professor or teacher.
Okay. Okay. So right now, I know the final few questions I'm gonna ask you, but this is gonna be a different question. So, like, what significant events happened while you were there? Like, for example, me and Rodney was there. We had a teacher threatening to snipe students, snipe black students. We had people threatening to burn, dorms. We had a lot of stuff that caused the mass campus-wide panic. We had the DEI thing. That was a big movement. We had the school was proposing new taxes. Was there anything like big going on at your school at the time? We also had the whole rape issue. I'm not gonna get into that. I don't know if I'm getting in trouble with privacy rights, but it shut down a fraternity. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think, and this could be me just living my own life, because at a certain point in college, I was like, I'm ready to get out of Maryville. I would say the first 2 beginning years, I was invested, I was involved, like I was excited to be there. By the end of it, I was ready to be done. And I was really only on campus 2 days a week. I would stack all of my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I was working full time at that Subway. I hated it. I had to make ends meet for rent or for groceries or for any extra.
Damn it. Computer.
The university in general. As far as big events with a negative impact, incidences on campus I wouldn't necessarily say that was anything that culturally was shifting during my time to where I had a negative impact on my experience.
Okay. Yeah, I hope Rodney got that. I missed everything. My phone froze. I reconnected twice. I was like, oh my goodness.
That's okay.
But yeah, okay. Ronnie, you got anything before I move on to these final?
But like I was saying, towards the end of my educational career at Northwest, I was pretty checked out and pretty removed from campus for the most part, and was just a working person, just trying to make it and just trying to get my degree. Those last 2 years, I probably wasn't as outside of the pageant, wasn't as invested in my campus as I probably should have been.
You got to do what you got to do. You'd be surprised how many students like us have to make those ends meet. So, yeah, what you got to do.
You can keep moving forward with the questions, Tony.
Okay. I do want to know if well, I got to ask this question. Were any of your Black classmates, did they like achieve, anything great academically in sports, went to the NFL, did this, that you know of while they were on campus?
There were a couple of, I'll say high profile athletes that came out of Northwest during my time. Travis Manning, who was a friend of mine, he was little boy, if you don't get down, in addition to a very annoying dog, I also have a very annoying cat who's climbing all over everything right now. But Travis Manning was an athlete. Ryan Jones was an athlete he was a year older than me. I don't believe either one of them had extensive NFL careers, but they both did make it to the NFL. And then there were two twins who I think are still in the NFL to this day. And I cannot remember their names for the life of me, but they were twin corners or twin running backs.
They were there when I was
the Dixon twins.
Dixon twins. Yes. Yep. They were a part of kind of my era at Northwest.
Okay.
Academically, I'm not 100% sure. I do know there was a friend of mine, his name is Eric Austin from the Kansas City area, who is a fantastic motivational speaker. Just before coming to Northwest, he was involved in an incident that left him wheelchair bound. And he's a really great motivational speaker to this day.
Okay. And you had like any photos, videos or flyers from back in the day, like from things that were going on around campus?
Oh yeah, I have so many pageant pictures, so many football game pictures with my friends, and just different things. It's so funny. A friend of mine from college just reached out to me yesterday because most of my friends, I moved out of Missouri. I was like, I'm done with Missouri. I need a change. And so they were talking about wanting to come down and visit me. And I haven't seen any of them since college. And so it'd be really nice to have them come down to Texas. Let me show them some Southern hospitality. Yeah, that happened actually just yesterday.
Wow. Okay, look at that. Well, we would love to have, whatever you think stands out as far as the pageant photos. There's photos going back since the school first started. And right now we're trying to get everything we can to document it. So we would love that. And do you think that there's anybody that we should interview besides the names you mentioned? Is there anybody else you think, your friends, anybody?
Eric Austin, I think, is one of the first people I would say. He has been doing some pretty big things since he left Northwest as far as the opportunities that he has with his motivational speaking. I've seen him do a couple things on social media. I would definitely give him a shout if possible.
Okay. Do you know any of his contact information, or we just got to go on social media and reach out to him?
I sure don't. I don't think I have it. I might know somebody who does still have it, but I don't personally have it anymore. Okay. I'm trying to think of who else. Monet Douglas, she recently got married, so I don't know her married name anymore, but she actually worked at Northwest, I believe on the admission side.
Okay.
Even after she graduated, so she stayed in Maryville for a number of years.
Okay.
I'd have to look up her married name.
Okay. And then I guess my last question, because we're going to kicked off in about 9 minutes. I'm going to start using my other profile because we got kicked off the other day. It was
yeah.
video to record. So how do you feel about Northwest now that you graduated and moved on? I guess I'm gonna ask you that. How do you feel? And also, I know what you're doing as far as higher education, living life now. Are you married, kids, or how has Northwest benefit now? 10 years removed.
Oh Lord, I'm gonna answer those first. Not married, no kids. That's not something I am prepared for yet. I do have a boyfriend.
Okay.
But turning 31 in December. I don't know. I'm homeowner.
Okay. Homeowner. Man,
In Northwest, hard for me to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. My opinion of Northwest now is hard for me to determine because I haven't been on campus in years. Like, I think the last time I was up there was homecoming 2013. Mm-hmm. And then spring of 14 is when I moved to Texas. And so when I go home to Missouri, I'm usually going home to my family. Mm-hmm. So I haven't gone back to campus in a long time, but I actually do have an 18-year-old sister who's considering going to Northwest in the fall. And so she might end up there this next fall, a year from now. And so we'll see. I might have a reason to come back more often. My opinion of Northwest, I would say, is strongly based in my experience. I really had a great college experience while I was there. And so my opinion of it hasn't changed that much. I obviously haven't experienced some of the issues that with racial indifferences that y'all have experienced on campus in the Trump era. So I'm so sure that has probably swayed your individual college experiences. But as far as I can tell, I do like what I see. I get the, alumni newsletter. I think today's the last day for the Bobcat Forever Green fundraising campaign. Mm-hmm. And so I still am connected socially through what's happening on campus. Obviously, there have been significant more athletic achievements since I left I think it was 2015 when they won the national championship for football and for men's basketball in the same consecutive year. That is unheard of for any college. Program. And so if we're scaling it 1 to 10, I think my opinion is like a 7 or 8.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Rodney.
Well, one of the last questions I before this thing kicks us off is, what advice would you give, a student, 17, 18, 19, who was just, entering to go into like Northwest the first time or just college the first time? What is some advice that you'll give to that, that 17-year-old, 18-year-old?
Sure. I would say live the full college experience. I would say get involved with your campus. I would also say go experience a night out on, the square in Maryville and Molly's. Is Molly's still a thing?
It was when we was there.
Molly's just shut down, actually, from that I've known. Oh, wow. Yeah, it did.
Wow. Some fond memories in Molly's. But I would say, enjoy your full college experience. Go to athletic events. Be involved. Find your community. But really just, balance it with staying the course because your ultimate goal is to get your degree. One thing that, I've learned, especially in the course of higher education, is that unfortunately for a lot of Black students and for a lot of students of color in general, the only trajectory to gain generational wealth is through education. And so that is my whole purpose of staying in this industry, so that I can be an advocate, just like I had my community and my advocates for me when I was at North. Come on. And so I would say the biggest, I think he's.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back now.
Okay. You have any other questions, Tony?
No, I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to say this. To thank you for the time that you have, giving us. Sure. I'm trying to get Rodney off the screen. I'm trying to put you back on the screen. All right. Thank you for your time. And also, for, you said your sister, right, is thinking about going?
Yeah, she's in her senior year of high school now.
Okay. Well, we're well connected with at least the organizations, Black organizations that are on campus. The alumni board is working very well with both the school and the students there now, at least the presidents of the organizations. There's been a lot of work that's been going on behind the scenes that you're starting to see in the newsletters and stuff like that. And so, reach out to us if she wants to. If she has any questions, we are there for her as a board. So I want to thank you again, and I mean that's all the questions I have. You want to say anything else?
Well, I wanted to ask you where should I send you some pictures?
I'm gonna send you my email.
Okay, that'll work.
Yeah, and thank you so much for meeting with us and your busy schedule and everything, and thank you for sharing with us. If I had one more question left is, what is better, Kansas City barbecue or Texas barbecue?
Ooh, I'm gonna just disregard all that and say Memphis barbecue.
Oh.
Texas, they do it different, though. Like there's no emphasis on sauce. Like they really take their time in the seasonings, and it is a sauce. So I'm like, but I need sauce. And there's no emphasis like that here. So, but I'm gonna disregard all that because I'm from St. Louis. So
you already said your opinion, so you can't disregard no more.
Hey, this is coming from the chef herself, you know.
That's professional. But okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. I got another thing coming up, so all right.
Sure. And see y'all this afternoon.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good day.
So much.
All right, bro.